So I'm using a gland lure on the backing for my M44s. And this would be a Coyote matrix. And if you don't know what a matrix is, that is typically a gland that is made during the breeding season. Or at least as I understand it. Maybe there's some disagreement on that. But there's a pheromone that is produced during the breeding season. So you're talking, if you want to look at a small window of it, it would probably be in that week or two prior to February 15th. If you wanted to find a peak breeding time, I would say it's in that February 15th, give or take a week or two. And that pheromone, so this gland here is made only of female coyotes during that month of February. And those pheromones dissipate fairly quickly, so there's some argument on whether or not you're actually maintaining that pheromone for any amount of time. There's some additives to this gland. I do put a little bit of propylene glycol in there to give it some, so I can pour it. I also use a fixative in here in order to allow for even evaporation. A lot of times if you don't add any kind of a oily fixative to it, it doesn't allow for that gland to evaporate. So you have the particulars within the gland start to evaporate at different rates, and you don't have this full spectrum of the smell due to evaporation. Anyway, there's some different types of preservatives and stuff you can get in there, and that gets to be a whole different discussion. Some preservatives are better for different types of meat base or gland base, or not one preservative is necessarily good for all situations. Again, that's probably worth mentioning that there are people that disagree with that, I would imagine. But a real good read. Any information you can get from Sherm Blom from Wildlife Services Research Center is some great information. There's been some extensive studies done on lure ingredients, and if you can get a hold of those papers, which you should be able to find online. When I used to work for the government, I could call the library up and they would just ship them to me. So I used to write some letters back and forth with Sherm, and really interesting guy. Wrote a book about Bill Nelson that if you enjoy reading about trapping, that's a great read by Sherm Blom. Anyway, there you go. There's some information on some gland matrix.